the 12th of December 2011. A warm welcome along to today's United Kingdom talk. And I've been thinking at the weekend, you know, I don't like to do Christmas too early. But even BBC television has started with their little Christmas bits and pieces advertising their programmes. And you know what? I think I shall sprinkle some magic and welcome you to Christmas on United Kingdom Talk. There we are. Welcome to our little Christmas studio. Oh yes, Christmas has arrived. We've got the coloured little twinkly lights at the back. We've got the Christmas tree and, of course, the all-important star on top. Actually, Ronnie came over, my best friend, on Saturday and helped me put all this together. So it's all looking rather nice and Christmassy in a little Christmas tree. How marvellous, isn't it? Yes, there are going to be a couple of Christmas carols around the piano as well. Someone's requested that I play Oh Holy Night on the piano for you over the next few shows or so, okay? And we're staying here till just after Christmas, I think. All very, very pleasant. We're going to stick to the emails today, boys and girls. What do you think, by the way? Do you like the studio? Any other suggestions? Send them in. The email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, all right? All right, we're going to do emails again today. My dear friend Gary and Sue, actually it's Sue who sent in this email, who says, "Hi Chris, the other day you were talking about how often you thought about your mum and dad." Oh, well, all the time. All the time. Dad went in 1996 and mum went in 2000. Gary remembers your parents really well, especially your mum. He remembers sometimes going to your house and your mum always offering him sandwiches and cakes. Oh, yes. Yeah, if you ever came to my house when I was a little boy, you always got biscuits and sandwiches and cakes and tea. I mean, I could... Do you know what? In my 30s, I used to get... I was on this... You know, I'm always on this blooming weight thing that I'm on, aren't I? Do you know what I mean? I'm too heavy or too fat. I've always thought like that. And in my 30s, I was particularly bad, and I would get quite upset when Mum would bring up plates and biscuits and stuff like apple sponge that she'd made specially, and I'd throw it back in her face. I can't eat that, Mum. And I'm so angry with myself for doing things like that, you know. And when she came round here, she'd bring these bits. I bought you some biscuits. No, take them home, Mum. All right, she'd say. And then when she left, or you know, when she left, or I dropped her home or whatever, I'd come back, and that night I'd look in the cupboard, and there they'd be. She would leave Kit Kats and wagon wheels in the cupboard. Oh, Mum. Gary said they were really lovely people. They talked about my parents. I think he thought you were really lucky to have both parents. As you may remember, Gary's dad was not around when he was growing up, and back then it was a bit of a stigma to be a one-parent family. Now, it's funny you should say that, Sue. I think it was a stigma, actually, but as children, I don't think it ever crossed your minds. The fact that someone perhaps didn't have a dad or didn't have a mum. I think it was like higher up the age ranges that it was a stigma. Of course, it's not now at all. Life is really unfair sometimes, she says. You lost your parents too soon, and Gary's is still around, but he still has no contact with his dad, and his mum is in a hospital. She's not too well, which he finds really hard to deal with sometimes. Absolutely. I haven't said what's wrong there, but indeed, my mum had a similar problem towards the end of her life. It's not what she died from, but she had a similar problem. And it was extremely difficult to deal with. Very, very difficult. I don't think I was strong enough either. You know, you know, hindsight tells you there's so much more you could have done. But at the time, you just don't know, do you? You really don't. Sue says, I think that's why Gary talks a lot about his school days and living on the Alton estate, which is, of course, where I lived. By the way, those of you who don't know, Gary was my best friend in primary school, absolutely. Him and some other another close friend was called Tony Busher. Tony Busher, who After primary school, I never saw her again. Never saw him, never spoke, no contact at all since primary school. He talks a lot about school days and living on the Alton estate because that is how he likes to remember her, as in her mum, his mum, who is still alive. By the way, we were in Roehampton today, which is where we both grew up, and he showed me where you used to live. Gary always feels quite sad when he sees how the area looks today. So much different to all those years ago, and not in a good way. Do you ever go back there? Well, Sue, for a while, for about 2 years, I went back to the church where I was brought up. We were great churchgoers at St. Joseph's in Roehampton. And for 2 years, and this has only stopped within the last couple of months, I was going and playing the organ at the church again, which was all very nice. And each Sunday morning I would drive, and it's a 45-minute drive there and a 45-minute drive back, plus the Mass. And it was nice because you go into a church and nothing ever changes in your local church. It's always the same. The seats are in the same. But I mean, there has been some changes, but by and large, everything is the same. And it's quite wonderful to be able to go somewhere where nothing has changed. Unlike Roehampton, it really is very, very different, isn't it? You know, bars up on people's front doors and just general tattiness, and the shops are just dire, absolutely dire. I'm sure Gary will tell you about a particular shop called the Candy Shop, which became Martin's, and all us little ones used to go in there and get our sweets and crisps. I went in there a few months ago on the way back from church. I can't remember what I wanted now, maybe a newspaper or something. And my God, what a difference, what a tatty old shop that is now. You know, and apparently it's constantly being burgled, this particular shop. Very, very sad indeed. Cameras on top of the tower blocks. Have you seen those? Yeah, there's if you look at the tower blocks, well, not so much the tower block. It's about 3 high, I think, and it's the block of flats over the co-op. If you look on the top there, you will see all these cameras. I mean, it's just not a nice place to be anymore. But it was a wonderful place, as Gary says. Roehampton was a wonderful place to grow up in the 70s and probably the 80s as well. I left there in 1983, incidentally. When did Gary leave Roehampton then? I kind of lost contact with Gary. We were best friends in primary school. Our friendship did indeed continue in the secondary school, but I found as we were going up in the years, we never had a row, nothing like that. We kind of just went our own ways and lost contact. And then I saw him 15 years ago when I was cycling to my job in Wandsworth as a telephone engineer. I saw him then and we stopped and had a little chat, and then off he went. And then the last time I saw him, of course, was a few months ago on Putney Bridge. So I just wonder, when did Gary move out of Roehampton, and why and where? I'd be interested to know that. Sue says, anyway, a little story to lighten the mood. Do you remember this schoolboy prank you pulled on Gary? I think you may have been in the library or in class and told him to pull his mouth apart at each side as far as he could and say, bucket. Of course, he fell for it and it came out really loud. I remember this. I absolutely remember this in that little library, and it was right on the top of the school. It was a tiny little library. Were we library monitors, me and you, Gary? I think we were library monitors. We used to sit up there and hide in school. This library was smaller than this room I'm in now. It was tiny, this library. So you told him to pull his mouth apart and he say bucket. And of course he fell for it and it came out really loud. You were, of course, laughing and Gary was mortified. Yeah, you can try this one at home, boys and girls. Say bucket and you have to hold your ass out. Not too hard because you'll hurt your bottom. Turn it across and say bucket, but at the same time pulling your mouth apart. I really shouldn't be teaching you to do these things. Have you done it yet? Are you shocked? She says, but my favourite story is when apparently you were asked the teacher if you could do a news broadcast in class with Gary as your assistant. When you were rehearsing, you said to him, now at the end, don't forget to shuffle your papers and click your pen off. No, because that's what they always do at the end of the BBC News. Well, they did then, before computers. They would shuffle. They say, that's it from the news today. Thanks very much for watching. And they click their pen off. I do remember these things. Oh dear. She says, Chris, you were just as hilarious as a child as you are today. Love, Sue. Well, the thing is, Sue, it's all very well saying that as a child, you must know by now that I actually never grew up. I actually never grew up. And it's a funny thing. Just before I was doing the show today, I sat downstairs and I have so many things, different things that I am not happy with that over the years I did. I carry an awful lot of guilt, I feel, of things that I did or didn't do perhaps. The times I would have upset my parents. There were even occasions where I spoke against them to certain people, and I cannot. I know what you're going to say. Your parents would understand and they would forgive you. I cannot forgive myself for these things, and there's a whole list of things. And I tried to think to myself, because one of our friends, Peter, who often writes into the show, says you must try and be positive all the time. I'm trying to think, what people have I never done anything wrong or against or let down? That's the word. What people have I never let down? There must be someone who I've never let down. And I found them. My niece and my two nephews. I can't think of a single incident where I've let them down in any way at all. And that kind of pulls it up a little bit. You know, if you're of a certain age, you'll know exactly what I mean here. There will be times, I'm sure, when you, just like me, are sitting there on your own thinking, oh, I wish I'd never done that. How can I have done that? How can I have said that? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And believe me, I spend a lot of time thinking of that. And it's all very well saying, oh, you mustn't think like that. How do you stop that? How do you stop thinking like that? You can't. You just do. But there are 3 people in this world that I like to... Even my best friend Ron, I've let him down a couple of times. He's done it. He will tell you the same. He's done the same to me as well, you know. And you think about it and I feel so bad sometimes. So bad over many, many things. I don't know why I'm opening up like this to you today. So bad about many, many things. But there are 3 people in this world I don't think I've ever let down in any way at all. My 2 nephews and my niece. So that's something, I mean, maybe that makes up to some way. Perhaps you've got a story like that to tell me, then do let us know. There's plenty of shows to go before and during Christmas. Let us know. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. So I'm sitting in my little Christmas studio just before I go. You want to see it in here, actually. It's all that you can only see the tree and the little stars behind me. In front of me, I've got to say, there's like 2 table lamps shining directly onto me. They are... They are on 3 piles of paper to raise them up a bit, which itself is on top of a stool. There's a clock over there. And, you know, the cloth behind me doesn't go all the way across. It actually stops a bit further over. But you can't see any of that. I'll let you see it all before we finish doing our shows from the studio. But 3 shows from this little Christmassy type studio. I hope you like it. Once again, the email address if you'd like to join in and say anything at all. I'd always pleasure to hear from you. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Just before I go... I would like some of your Christmas stories. I'd like to read out some of your Christmas stories. I want you to remember some Christmases in the past. Tell me about your day and why you loved it, or perhaps didn't love that particular story. I've got some to tell you as well, all coming up over the next few shows, as well as some more of your emails. All right, Chris at UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. Thanks so much for watching and listening. See you on the next show. Bye-bye.